Creed is my favorite sports movie of all time, and it's also one of my favorite movies ever. Directed by Ryan Coogler and starring Michael B. Jordan as Adonis Creed and Sylvester Stallone as the famous Rocky Balboa, the movie more or less is a remake slash reboot slash continuation of the Rocky series, which came out during the 70s and 80s, with the last movie coming out in 2006. I thought Creed was an excellent addition to the franchise, and there are a few moments that make it stand above the rest. We get our underdog story, which is a staple of the Rocky franchise, with Adonis trying to make a name for himself. But what really made this movie stand out, in my opinion, was the last act, which had some of the best movies I've seen in not just sports movies, but movies in general. The scene when Adonis gets knocked down by Ricky Conlan, the current champ, where Rocky and Bianca are begging him to get up. Meanwhile, deep in Adonis's barely conscious mind, he can see Bianca closing the door on him. And just before everything fades, he sees his father in the ring, Apollo Creed, jolting him back to his feet. It gave me chills, and was followed by one of the most heartfelt moments in the entire franchise, in my opinion. The fight choreography was probably the best I've seen in combat sports film, no doubt in large part to the fact that a lot of Adonis's opponents in the movie are real-life boxers. Hell, he even got knocked out filming one of the scenes. I really struggle to find something to complain about when it comes to this movie. I guess it does have the typical boxing movie cliches, but I think they're done well, and it doesn't bother me. They even had some fun callbacks, like Adonis chasing chickens like Rocky did in the original. But Adonis is a freak athlete and caught them like it was nothing, which leads to Rocky remarking,
"Chickens are slowing down."
They even did a beautiful rendition of the traditional Rocky theme. So as you could tell, I love this movie, and was more than happy to accept the idea of a sequel. In fact, I felt there was enough room for a sequel perfectly gift-wrapped for us at the end. With Ricky Conlan in jail, this would leave the spot as the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world open for Danny Wheeler, the man who was supposed to fight Ricky Conlan, and who also cleaned Adonis's clock at the beginning of the film, to take over. And since Adonis just went 12 hard rounds with the champ, people would be clamoring to see a fight between Wheeler and Adonis. Now, a sequel didn't have to be about that, but that's just what I think a sequel could have been about. A few months ago, I began to hear rumblings of a sequel being made, and I was excited, but then I started to hear rumors. Nothing concrete, just a theory here, a fan-made poster there. Again, nothing concrete, but just enough to worry me. It appears that some people think a brilliant idea for sequel would be for Adonis to fight the son of the man who killed his father. In simpler terms, Adonis versus Ivan Drago's son. What? Talk about the most coincidence of coincidental plots. That Adonis fights the son of Ivan Drago, who is the man who killed Apollo Creed, who is also the friend of Rocky, who fought Ivan Drago, who also trains Adonis. There's no way they would actually make a sequel about that, right? Right? Oh my god, you've got to be kidding me. I can't judge too much because obviously the movie isn't out yet, and again, they didn't have to make a sequel based on the idea that I came up with, but what they did come up with relies on too much convenience, and right off the bat, you could probably think of what the major plot points are going to be beat for beat. And right away, it comes off as predictable and fan servicey. Also, have you seen the guy who's playing Ivan Drago Jr.? Dude's a fucking beefcake. That's not a complaint. I mean, like, fuck. The dude's in shape. I am kind of happy they didn't go with Sage Northcutt though, because the kid actually looks like Ivan Drago. It's almost comical. I wouldn't be able to handle seeing that on the big screen without laughing. The thing that bothers me about a plot like this is while Creed was more grounded in reality, like the first two Rocky movies, this plot makes it sound like they're trying to go back to what made the Rocky franchise so corny and ridiculous around the midpoint of the franchise's history. Fuck me, Rocky IV was about a Soviet super soldier murdering Apollo Creed, and Rocky has to travel to Russia to avenge him and give a speech about the Cold War. Do we really want to return to shit like that? What's concerning is Stallone is in fact writing this one, and I don't mind Stallone as a writer. He gave us Rocky 1 and 2, which were wonderful, but he also wrote 3, which was okay. 4 was, well, 4. And 5 had an interesting premise. In fact, the more that I think about it, Creed kind of resembles what Rocky 5 should have been, but it fell flat. Rocky 6 was a return to form in the series though. A sequel like this can work, but it needs to keep its gritty paint job, but unfortunately, I don't see it retaining that style with Stallone writing. Hell, he was even announced as the director, which had me even more worried, but then it was announced that Stephen Caple Jr. was going to direct. I haven't seen any of his work, so I'm not going to say anything about him, but I am afraid that Stallone might be taking control of the Creed franchise, much like he did with the Rocky series. Creed 2 will determine whether or not that's for better or worse. All in all, it's hard to say if a Creed 2 sequel will be any good given the details we have at the moment. I am excited, don't get me wrong, but I have concerns, which is the whole point of this YouTube series. I am curious though what you guys thought about Creed and the Rocky series. If you've seen them, let me know, and maybe even tell me what your favorite sports movie is. I'll talk to you guys later. Did you hear Karate Kid is getting a YouTube series? That's kind of cool.